Welcome back to another episode of 5ASIDE on beIN Sports. Today we're talking about the league on table. French soccer is looking more interesting than it ever has. The return of Paul Pogba. We're going to also speak about AFCON, the groups of death. What teams do you not want to see? What teams does your nation not want to face? And then lastly, there's a lot of controversy because some coaches aren't super keen on letting their players go represent their nations in Africa. We're going to get into all that right now. But first, we have to speak about the French league table. So what's going on in France is unprecedented. We haven't seen the French league look like this in a long time. Right now, we have Lens in first with 31 points after 14 games. PSG just 1 point behind. Marseille 1 point behind PSG. Lille and Rennes rounding out the top 5. It's been a long time since we've seen a team other than PSG really push it for the top spot. But to see Lens up top there, to see Marseille really neck and neck with PSG, does this feel like maybe a new moment for the French league? And is it something that you guys are interested in tuning into?
Yeah, I mean, I watched PSG over the weekend against Monaco, obviously looking for Pogba.
Yep.
But they lost. And Monaco was a man down for a portion of the game, and they just don't look as scary as they have in previous years. And I think they're going for it in the Champions League. They've been performing really well, but domestically, it's just like they're missing a little bit of that oomph, and it's hard to defend the title, so I understand, but they just don't look like the PSG of previous years.
I think it's really good for France because we talked a lot about Marseille coming into the season, the signings that were made, the kind of vibe under De Zerbi. We expected Marseille to maybe give a good push, but the fact that they're right there, but then you have a completely separate team and Lens actually sitting in first after, 14 games, I think the league is a lot more competitive than people give it credit for.
So speaking of that competitiveness, now that Pogba is back, what does that mean for his chances at a World Cup? It's a competitive league now. We can't necessarily just call it a farmers league.
Right.
Pogba is playing in a league that allows for there to be title contenders and championships like storylines. If Pogba puts in a good shift, does he get a spot at that World Cup?
And of course, he's playing in his home country. And the key matchups, obviously getting consistent run of games, something that should be good for him for his legs to get acclimated to the sport. He has to show up in the big games. Obviously, he was able to step in for Monaco, secure the 1-0. PSG, let's see how Monaco goes up against the other big teams.
Yeah, another thing is that Didier Deschamps is trusting of Pogba. He was on the pitch, dominated in 2018 when they won the World Cup. So even though he obviously hasn't had the same last few years of the likes of maybe a Kefren Turam and guys like that, who of course I think will still make the team, I think some of those lower end midfielders of that 25-man squad, he can knock one out if he puts in a really good second half of the season, because again, he has that trust from the coach.
Yeah, my concern is they've been like phasing Pogba back into the team. Like he still hasn't, I don't think he started a game yet. He's still like coming off the bench. I don't think he's played in Champions League yet, even though like that's obviously clearly important. So my fear is just like, I'm wondering when he's finally going to start and become like a regular,
consistent, like,
you know what I'm saying? Become like an influential part of the team
week in and
from
week
the
out.
jump, because when he's coming on in the last 20 to 30 minutes, it's like, all right, we see a couple good passes, we might see, but like we're not seeing him in his full flight.
Yeah.
And so it's like, obviously I respect the fact that they're phasing him back in, but with the World Cup coming so quickly, it's like, we might need him to start starting some games real soon. So I don't know.
2026, Pog back, man.
It's right around the corner.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think with a World Cup, the World Cup is such a different tournament than like a normal league phase. You bring Pogba as a coach, I would bring Pogba even if we don't see him get that stretch of games that you're asking for, because when it comes to World Cup and you're playing the Netherlands in a semifinal and you need a player who has the experience to like not get shocked, not get nervous and really play into that, or even someone on the bench or in the locker room to like talk to people and calm them down.
Leadership.
You bring Pogba. He's one of the only French midfielders in the world that can speak to that position, having won the tournament. Speaking of difficulty in tournaments, the Cameroon squad right now is looking a little interesting because a player is going to have difficulty going to the tournament and playing on the field. You might watch from the stands, but André Onana is not part of the Cameroon squad. He's been putting in some decent performances in Turkey, so honestly, as a Cameroonian, I'm a little surprised, but there have been issues, and there's always been a little bit of doubt cast on his play style. Coaches have often said that he wants to make the game a little bit too much about himself. He wants to be a very modern goalkeeper, and some teams don't necessarily have the equipment to handle a goalkeeper that wants to be that modern. But he's probably if not one of the most famous Cameroonian soccer players in the world, and they have decided not to bring him to the tournament. What do you guys think? Would you guys ever allow your nations to do something like this?
What you
Allow
want?
it. It's hilarious. I mean, what's more interesting to me is the fact that the coach was also fired. So Bryce was let go, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago. But the fact that he didn't want to show up for to announce the team sheets for the World Cup qualifiers was like a huge point of controversy. And I think Samuel Eto'o hasn't let that go. Like that really, he fired him citing subterfuge. And so he clearly
What was the word?
subterfuge.
I don't even know what that means.
We can Google it.
Yeah. And Eto'o just got reelected as well as the president of the Cameroonian Federation as well.
Yeah. So it's Eto'o's house now.
Yeah, so it feels a little bit like a reset by firing the coach, by not bringing in a major key figure. And there was a little bit that was actually done with Spain after the failure of the 2022 World Cup, leading into the new coach, Luis de la Fuente, and you see the success now of what they did in the Euros. So sometimes when you are this bigger nation with the expectations and maybe there's a little bit of favoritism, the shakeup can be good. But regardless of that idea, to me, it doesn't make sense to not have Onana. With the fact that he's now playing much better in Turkey and everything going on, and AFCON being a tournament, not even just a league or anything like that, to me, it feels a bit strange.
Yeah, and just to clarify, the word was subterfuge, which is deceit used in order to achieve one's goal.
Wow.
Deceit?
Yeah,
That's what he cited for
That's
firing
what he
the coach.
said. Yeah,
Hey, learn something new every day.
Bon
but
Samuel.
it does.
Every day.
It does feel like a little bit of like Succession, or one of those like political shows.
yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
of course.
You know,
Heavy.
where it's like Eto'o reelected, and then he gets rid of all the people that
It's a
like
power move.
aren't getting along with him.
Which is terrible for soccer.
Yeah.
We don't need power moves. We need the best players on the
Literally,
field. Like, I don't need you to
best
prove
players.
you're the king here.
Yeah.
Like, just pick the best players. I beg you, please. Please just pick.
Everybody
And
want to be CEO, huh?
And it's weird because it's not like we're looking at just some businessman that's running the Cameroonian
actually
Federation.
Sam West.
It's a previous player, one of the best players, one of the best African players, or one
He
of the best
himself
players.
complained
Period.
about this exact nonsense when he was a player.
Yeah.
Right. So to see him now perpetrating it is like
Samuel.
Corruption is only bad if
Samuel.
I am not involved.
Yeah, right.
This is one of my favorite sentiments. All right, so let's speak about a little bit of the difficulty in Africa.
Yeah.
Not off the field, but this time on the field. The groups for AFCON
There's some tough
have been out
groups,
for
man.
quite some time. But we're getting very close.
Yeah.
Tournament is very, very near. And some of the groups of death are Group B, Angola, Egypt, South Africa, and Zimbabwe.
Yep.
Group D, Benin, Botswana, DR Congo, and Senegal. And most importantly, Group F, Cameroon, Gabon, Ivory Coast, and Mozambique. Which one would y'all say is the toughest group?
I'd probably go with Group F.
yeah.
You have the reigning champs in Cote d'Ivoire. You have Cameroon, one of the most historic nations in Africa, who still have a very talented squad. Have some guys absolutely balling out in Europe right now. Gabon, who was so close to getting their first berth, and you have the amazing partnership between Aubameyang and Dennis Bouanga and Lamina as well in the midfield. Man, that to me, that's the toughest group. The other two are pretty tough as well, but give me Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, Gabon, Mozambique as the toughest group. Group F.
So who's getting out of that group?
Two only, right?
Two only. Well, it could be three, but just give me your.
Yeah,
Give me your,
my top two. I'll go Cote d'Ivoire and Cameroon.
okay. Gabon
Yeah,
home.
I would agree.
More disappointment for Aubameyang.
Someone's getting disappointed. You know what I mean? If it's not them, it's y'all. I think Cote d'Ivoire tops it. Yeah.
Speaking about sneaking in and perhaps in this case sneaking out, we have a little bit of controversy coming out of the top European clubs in the world because coaches and federations are having a little bit of a battle that happens every time that AFCON is on. There is this struggle with coaches not necessarily valuing AFCON for the African players that play for their clubs. And so you have Cesc Fabregas, who I respect, and I was very surprised that he said this, but he said that his Senegalese player, Assane Diao, that it didn't make sense for him to go and play for Como. It didn't make sense for him to go and play for Senegal as a Como player. I have to say, I don't think he would say that if it was a Euros or if it was a Copa America. So there is still this sentiment that going and playing in the African tournament is not really worth it, quote unquote. Now, I understand that clubs have this issue because your player leaves during the middle of the season and you're the one paying his salary. So if he gets injured or you lose him for 3 months, you still got to pay him, and that sucks. However, it is an international tournament. I think more respect needs to be put on it, but what do you guys think?
I think that I don't think it's from a lack of respect. I think it's more a selfishness from the coaches and the teams, not thinking about what it means for that player to go back to Africa to represent their nation and play into what is absolutely the equivalent of a Euros and a Copa America. It is very unfortunate that it is during the club season and that does remove them from important games. Como is having an exceptional season too, and I think Fabregas probably feels the history that's about to be made in that whole project, so he feels the urgency of this season, and missing a player that good for just a few games could have a big impact. You know how tight tables get. So I don't think, so I don't think in his specific case, other people like Carragher was disrespect. I don't think Fabregas is disrespect, but it is selfishness because he's only thinking about Como and his own success. He's not thinking about what it means for that player.
I feel like it can't be anything but disrespect. Because if you're going to play for a team like Senegal, bro, like Senegal, even looking at World Cup, people are talking about Senegal as a dark horse.
Yeah,
like they have the possibility to win the whole thing. I can understand if he was going to play for beIN or one of the teams that people are saying like people aren't projecting them to go on and win the tournament. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna lose my player for a team that's likely to like lose in the group stage. Sure, but for a team that's actually competing for the whole entire thing, to come out and win, to be like, oh, it's not worth it. It's like, that's just a lack of respect for like what that title is, because you wouldn't want your player, if you value that player that much, you wouldn't want him to miss out on that possibility. You wouldn't want him to miss out on that.
That's what I'm saying. It's selfish. And I don't think he would even care what country he's at, because the fact that I'm missing you for games when I need you so we can potentially go to the Champions League.
Guys, let us know what you think in the comments. This has been another episode of 5ASIDE on beIN Sports. We'll see you in Morocco very soon.